The Spanish driver is now in a situation no one expected, completely overshadowed by Lance Stroll. Yes, that Lance Stroll. Known for inconsistency and often criticized, Stroll is now the one carrying Aston Martin's hopes in 2025, scoring every single point for the team. Meanwhile, Alonso has yet to score a single point this season. This isn't just a rough patch, it feels like a crisis affecting both the driver and the team. Aston Martin has fallen from being podium contenders to just battling in the midfield. Alonso, who once had the ability to pull off extraordinary drives, now seems ordinary. His spin in Miami before turn 11 wasn't just a minor mistake, it was the kind of error that speaks volumes. The question now is, does Alonso still have the spark? Even more concerning, he's joined a group of drivers who haven't scored any points this year, including Lawson, Portilato, and Duhan. For a driver with 2 world titles and so much experience, that's a harsh reality. At this point, rumors are spreading fast in the F1 world. If Max Verstappen's relationship with Red Bull continues to worsen, could Aston Martin make a bold move and bring him in to replace Alonso? It sounds far-fetched, but the team might have to plan for the future. One thing is clear: Lance Stroll's position at Aston Martin is secure. As long as his father Lawrence owns the team, Lance's spot on the grid is guaranteed. That means all the pressure now falls on Alonso. Meanwhile, Red Bull's dominance is starting to show cracks, and whispers of Verstappen leaving are growing louder every week. The problems inside Red Bull aren't as dramatic as Aston Martin's troubles, but Max is paying close attention to everything happening around him. If things start to look uncertain for him at Milton Keynes, you can bet he's already thinking about his next move. Aston Martin is on the edge of big changes. They're investing in a new, advanced wind tunnel and building fresh facilities at Silverstone. Plus, they're switching to Honda power units, which could bring more performance. The biggest news is the arrival of Adrian Newey, a legendary figure in F1 car design. This isn't just a small update, it's a complete makeover for the team. Meanwhile, Red Bull's gamble to use Ford engines in 2026 looks risky. Christian Horner's last-minute efforts to influence regulations seem more like a desperate move than a smart strategy. If Red Bull doesn't start strong in the new era, Verstappen might decide to leave. But where would he go? Mercedes say their driver lineup is set, but Aston Martin is open. And recent races suggest Alonso's results might just be opening the door for Verstappen. It's been 12 years since Alonso last stood on the top step of the podium. In 2025, even he admits the team isn't close to the front anymore. Lance Stroll quietly collected 14 points in the first 7 races. Not spectacular, but steady midfield performance. Now remember, this is the same team where Alonso earned 8 podiums in 2023. Yet this year, Alonso isn't just behind his teammate. He's stuck in a tough spot, barely breaking into the top 10. After a tough run to first place in Jeddah, Alonso was honest about the struggles. His words didn't sound angry but more resigned. He said, "We have to accept this situation. Our pace wasn't enough. Scoring points this season is going to be hard." This shows how challenging things have become for him and the team. Alonso also recently shared an important thought. He said he'll keep racing as long as he feels he can compete. But based on what's happening on the track, the energy that helped him fight through tough seasons seems to be fading. If a driver of Alonso's skill and experience is falling behind Stroll, it's a clear sign something is off. Is it the car? Is it his motivation? Or maybe this is just the final chapter in his racing career. Slowly, the question about his future is becoming clearer. This isn't a man just holding on. He's thinking ahead, planning beyond the wheel. Alonso seems aware that his time in Formula One is nearing the end, but he's determined to help Aston Martin succeed in the long run, even if that means stepping away from driving every weekend. He's starting to prepare for a new role behind the scenes, which might include working with Max Verstappen. Mercedes is still an option for Verstappen, but unless they decide to replace George Russell, Aston Martin looks like the more likely destination. And honestly, if Verstappen even shows interest, every team will rethink their driver lineup. So is Alonso ready to move into a new role, like an advisor, ambassador, or strategist, while someone else takes the wheel? All signs point to yes. But here's the interesting part. This might be exactly what Alonso wants. He's no longer chasing personal wins but aiming for something bigger, a lasting legacy. He wants to help build a team capable of winning championships, even if he's not the one crossing the finish line. If Alonso is facing the possibility of being replaced by Verstappen, you wouldn't guess it from his reaction. Instead, the Spanish driver seems calm and even positive about it. When asked about the rumors that the current world champion might take his seat, Alonso didn't get defensive. Instead, he gave a thoughtful and respectful response. "I don't think Verstappen will take my seat," he said calmly. "I have a contract for next year." But then he added something surprising. "It would be very good for the team." By not shutting down the idea completely, Alonso is quietly supporting the possibility. After all, he is already preparing to take on a different role within Aston Martin. And who better to hand over the reins to than one of the sport's best drivers? Alonso's praise for Verstappen didn't stop there. He pointed out that the interest from a world champion shows how much the team has improved. He said, "When a world champion is linked with other teams like Mercedes, Ferrari, and Aston Martin, it means this team is heading somewhere." At the same time, voices from the paddock, like Juan Pablo Montoya, believe Aston Martin is already ready to make a serious offer. For Verstappen, the attraction won't just be about money. It's about building something historic with Adrian Newey designing the car and Honda supplying the engines. The new facilities at Silverstone are more than just buildings. They represent a serious commitment to becoming title contenders. The team is pulling out all the stops to make this happen. According to Montoya, Red Bull's hold on Verstappen is weakening fast. "I'd be surprised if Max is still with Red Bull next year," Montoya said plainly. Verstappen has two choices: chase wins with Mercedes or join Aston Martin and maybe still win while earning a fortune. It's a tough moment for him, but ultimately, it all depends on what Verstappen decides. No matter how strong Aston Martin's plans are, they mean nothing if Max stays loyal to Red Bull. Still, cracks are showing. Horner's future looks uncertain. Upgrades aren't working as planned, and the 2026 rule changes are causing stress. Verstappen has made it clear he won't wait around if things don't improve. The four-time world champion has carried his team through tough times, but how long can that last? If the situation doesn't change soon, Verstappen might make a fresh start elsewhere. That brings us back to Alonso. Would he step aside for Verstappen? Everything points to yes. Alonso seems ready not to fade away quietly, but to shift into a powerful role behind the scenes, helping build Aston Martin into a champion team, standing proudly next to a new world champion instead of racing against him. So, what do you think? Is Alonso prepared to pass the torch and become Aston Martin's key architect? Share your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, take care.